Well, welcome to another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. My name is Sean Williams, and I thank the Lord for being in the studio once again, being able to tape another program of Let the Truth Be Told. Hey, good afternoon to you, and you. I thank you for pausing your day and being a part of this television program. Normally, I have a studio full of fellas with me, but today I'm solo dolo. And so as I come to you and we talk about various conversations and topics today, Father, just stick with me. We have a bunch of different stuff that we're going to cover today. I thank the Lord for Jason being in the studio with us once again. As long as we have him part of UPTV, he's been a blessing to UPTV, and he's definitely been a blessing to me. So I thank the Lord for all your hard work and dedication, Jason, behind the scenes, and being a part of our television experience. So thank the Lord for you for all these years that you've added blessings to us. So I thank the Lord for all the listeners and all the viewers that come up to me and say, Sean, man, keep up the good work, man. You're doing a great job. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I can't thank you enough because it always adds an extra energy booster for me to be able to get in front of this television set and to be able to come in your homes and bring you great conversations. And I thank the Lord for all the guys that have stepped in and helped me out over the years for the various programs. So hey, look, I might be coming to you and asking you to be a part of this television program. So I thank the Lord for you. So hey, let's don't procrastinate. Let's get right into some of the subjects, some of the things that we've had going on in our community across this nation, and it's been disturbing to me. I don't know about you. It's been disturbing to me, and I've been working on a bunch of different fronts trying to address this issue of gun violence that's been plaguing our community. Some folks call it an epidemic. I think I've called it a crisis. I've called it an epidemic that's been happening throughout our communities that we've had to deal with it. I know, and one of the businesses of the funeral home business, I know I've dealt with it an awful lot in trying to help families and comfort families during the tragical loss of a loved one. And so that's very impactful. Even as I say it, I think back on some of those times and dealing with some of those families, and it's heart-wrenching. And so you know, we just try to get in there and try to prevent and try to get on the front side of these things and these issues. And so one of the ways that we're trying to tackle it as a community here in Champaign is we've came up with this initiative called Victory Over Violence. And so in trying to address victory over violence, one of the meetings that I just attended, what we talked about was trying to, and me and some of the other guys was trying to promote the positive things that are happening in the community, right? And so I know we have a lot of things happening in the community, but we want to try to promote some of the positive things. But let's roll the curtains back before we get to the positive things, because we got a lot of positive stuff happening in our community. If you didn't know, now you know. We have this past weekend, I think I was out of town. It was our Halloween weekend, and as I was traveling and trying to get back to our radio program, one of the guys that were on the program with me said, "Hey, Sean, we had 2 murders on last night, and those were 2 young men, I think in their age groups of about 20 years old, were murdered, and 1 young lady from Danville was stabbed and murdered." And so their families have to do what many other families throughout this community and other communities like our community have to deal with, is now going into the process of sitting down with the funeral home, trying to plan a loved one's funeral out in celebration of a life, and trying to deal with the traumatic injuries that have happened mentally with dealing with the loss of a loved one. And that can be very overwhelming. That brings me back to one of the young ladies that I dealt with her son being murdered this past year. I had been thinking about her for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I just popped up and I called her and I said, "Hey, how are you doing? You know, what's your mental state right now? You know, are you doing okay?" You know, just to do some follow-up with her, because you know I take that very seriously. And so she told me, "Oh man, I really appreciate you thinking about me." And so that just goes to say, man, you know, just call somebody, even after the funeral's over with. These folks are going to need you for days and months and years to come. And so just reached out to her. "Hey, how you doing?" She said she was doing pretty good. She just had to get up out of here for a minute, just to clear her mind, because sometimes that environment that you're in, can be so toxic. And then it can bring back that memories, those streets you used to ride down with, the places that you travel with your loved one, with the schools that they attended, things of that nature can just bring up so many different memories, bad memories, good memories, and and a lot of folks say, well, kind of just get over it. I know I did with another young lady, and her employer told her she's going to have to get over it, and you just can't get over it. But my personal opinion is this. I mean, we should all have the right to live in a safe community. We should all have the right to live in a safe community. When I thought about that, I thought about the other young man that was murdered off of Prospect. I mean, you can't even have a road rage incident now without somebody pulling out a gun and shot this young man in the head, and he's over at Carl Hospital fighting for his life. And so we've had to deal with this gun violence issue time and time again. And so, and I just feel as though we need all hands on deck to deal with this. I think we've been sounding an alarm because we've been checking the temperament, me and some of my other buddies like Hub and so many different other guys, Kevin Cobb, and so many other guys throughout this community have been directly in the trenches. And I've been hollering this for years, whether it's been on this television program or whether it's been on the radio program, that things are getting tough, things are getting bad. And before we had this level of gun violence happen in our community, I had been calling it out. Hey, look, it's a lot going on right now, and it's a lot going on. I'm telling my listeners, hey, look, you need to get involved with your young people. I'm telling my administrators from the school, we need to get involved with these young people. I'm telling I'm telling our community leaders, our pastors, we need to get involved with these young people. But it seemed like it fell on deaf ears. And so even to this day, I've been crying out to elected officials about the temperament that's been going on throughout our community and what's going on with young folks. And it seems to me, I mean, even on yesterday, I called one of the popular radio stations and I said, hey, look, I said, so in talking from an African American's perspective, now I'm talking to two Caucasian hosts. And I said, who was the biggest influence in your life when you grew up? And they paused for a second. And they said, hey, Sean, I think it was my dad. And then the other guy said, well, let me think about it. And he said, yeah, I would probably say my dad also. And I said, well, what happens when you don't have a dad? What happens when that big influencer that you guys mentioned in your Caucasian family, and you don't have that as an African-American family? You just have your mom. Mom's working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. But you don't have that influencer that you guys have it. So we see it in out of two different lenses. And that's what I wanted to make those radio hosts understand. When we're trying to combat gun violence, I think we all look at it in a different perspective. And I don't think the right people are on the team. We come up with a lot of different initiatives. We come up with a lot of different funding and stuff like that. And it has to go much further. It has to go much further than just getting the funds. Just writing a grant to say I'm dealing with the most at-risk youth, and here you're grabbing your nieces and your nephews, folks that you should be saving anyway, instead of grabbing the kids that really, really need your support. And so, or to just get the funding. And I remember Senator Greasley, a U.S. senator. I remember watching the program, and I never knew this information. And so I was watching the program. I think it was a 60 Minutes program, and it was showing the amount of money that has to go to the actual cause of solving the problem. And so I think he was spotlighting a foundation at the moment, and he was talking about, I think it was maybe Feed the Children or some type of program that he was highlighting in the program. And we discovered throughout that program that only 0.5% actually has to go to the cause of solving the problem of maybe, hunger or homelessness or gun violence. The rest of the money can be spent on administrative fees, through training, and all of these other different things. And I think that's one of the problems. Because when we deal with this gun violence issue, it's going to take a lot. It takes a lot of money to support mothers that have dealt with gun violence. It's going to take money to deal with the young children that's left, during this, this catastrophic thing that have happened in their family. And so, so it's going to take money, but most communities don't have the money or don't have the funds to deal with it. So what I'm going to do, I've asked Jason to help me out with this here. I spoke with a lot of administrators, a lot of community folk, a lot of folks that's in charge, and I've said, hey, look, check this out. I said, I never did understand, I'm a 70s baby, I'm a 60s, 70s baby, old school, so, the smooth songs back in the day and the songs that kind of led us and guided us and kind of substituted for, if we had a void, so such as a father, or we had a void of such a direction in life, we had the music that kind of mellowed us down, it kind of gave us some direction. Well, unlike the generation of today, and they call this the new millennial generation or the Generation X, their music is much different than what we grew up off of. And so I never knew this until I kind of got the club. And I'm gonna give it to you. The views and opinions expressed here, those of the speaker do not express those of nobody else but Sean, okay? And so when I got the club, right, I remember it was a couple years ago. It was Champagne Urbana Day. The previous owners had booked a rap group, and so I was taking over, managing over there, and so rap group was already set up. I know they went on stage. I had my security in place, and I'm sitting there listening. And at that time, I'm a 50-year-old man. I'm listening to these young guys. And I know a lot of these young guys. I grew up in my shop, things of that nature. So I can vibe with them a little bit. And so I'm listening to these guys, but I'm not listening to these guys. And I do like most parents do. You kind of listen to it, but you kind of overlook it. They just rapping. So I never did pay attention. All of a sudden, these guys said something that triggered some other guys. Now the other group of guys ran up to the stage where these guys were rapping at, and they commenced to get into a fight, altercation. So me and security and the rest of the folks had to push them out the club to protect the rest of the crowd. So after it was all over with, I said, what happened? And so they started breaking down to me, Sean, what happened? And they started explaining to me, like most of us, we don't know the lingo, we don't know the language. So they started breaking this language down into a way that I can understand it. And these guys said something through their rap music about smoking somebody that was deceased, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why would you do something like that? Well, that is what's being promoted now, right? And so that is the steering of this gun violence, where the argument is over somebody that's deceased. And then somebody makes fun of somebody deceased. And I know for me, like I told you, I'm 60s, 70s, baby, I'm thinking, okay, we didn't even play with wheelchairs back in the day. We didn't even play with crutches. That was like bad luck. That was like karma. That was like, we didn't do that. That was something that we just did not do. And so when I started analyzing this thing, because of the fact that, having that club and that thing like that, so I started saying, okay, I got to pay more attention to the people that I let hold the mic, right? And so when I got artists and that came to me and their producers or something say, hey, Sean, I want my artist to perform. Okay, let me watch a YouTube video. So then I started watching YouTube videos. Then I started listening to the lyrics. It didn't cause for a bunch of talking, because a lot of times we do a lot of talking, but we don't do a lot of listening. Okay, so let me listen and see what's going on. So what I started doing, I started listening. I started listening. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, and so I'm gonna let you guys take a listening to something, and I'm gonna let you see something, and I'm gonna let you make a conclusion, then we're gonna dialogue on this information that I'm finna show you here right now. So let me turn this camera. Jason, if you can kind of turn that so the listening audience and the viewing audience can kind of see, and I'm gonna turn that over there to you. And so for the folks on our social media account, I'm gonna tell you exactly what this here is saying. It's saying, so this is a video, 22 G's, Sniper Gang Freestyle, right? Something I just pulled up off of YouTube, okay? to just use this as a prop. No, hey, nothing against you guys. I'm just using you as a prop. I don't want no smoke now. But and it's saying the warning label, the protection warning label, like anything else, like cigarettes or like the warning label of a car or any other product, so that they don't get sued behind something. It says warning. Any props used in this video that show resemblance to any illegal materials are merely props and should not be taken seriously. Don't try this at home. And that's what this is saying. So let's go and let's take a listening to what's being said and what's being shown. So take a listening. So we'll go through this here because I think a lot of us don't watch this, okay? It's glamorizing the money, beams on the guns, stuff that I haven't seen since the military. Guys can't be no more than 16, 17 years old. Name of the group, Sniper Gang. Talking about killing folks. So we can stop it there. So I can stop it there. So I just, we started another business in transportation, right? And so I just took a ride. I went to Indiana, Iowa, Pennsylvania, and I listened to the radio, right? And as I scanned the radio, and I listened to different radio stations, no other radio station in the country promotes this type of music to their particular racial groups, but the African American community. This is what we take in, and this is what we give out. This is what we take in. This is what we allow them to give us as substance. This is what we find value in or we don't find value in. This is what they promote to us as value. Okay? So they don't want somebody, let's say somebody, and I'm gonna get deeper into that somebody is. They do not want our young folks to see value in themselves, where we're starting to try to promote each other in a positive manner. They do not want to see that. So I'm gonna show you one more video and then we're gonna keep it moving, okay? I wanna go one more video and I'm gonna show you one more video of what we've had to deal with, because I've watched this many a times and they say, well, why was it so many rounds? Okay, this is a Glock 19 hand pistol, okay? It's a weapon. And I was in the military, been around weapons, I've been to gun ranges, and most automatic weapons, you cannot use an automatic weapon. It's illegal, it's a federal offense. You cannot have an automatic weapon. Some of these different rounds, you cannot use some of these different rounds because under the Geneva Convention, you can't use certain level rounds to use against a human being. But this is what we have in our community. I was just around on the North End here a few weeks ago, and this is what I heard. This is what I heard in a community. This is what I heard, this is what I heard on the North End of Champaign, in our community, not Chicago, in our community. A Chinese-made company has designed a switch to be put on a semi-automatic weapon. This is what we're dealing with in our community. 1,200 rounds per minute. All right. Now let's get to the dialogue. Now, I know my sister is squirming right now because she's saying, look, man, look, don't show them that, don't do that. But somebody got to be the tough guy, man. Somebody got to say something. You know, I just don't get no, I just cannot fathom how to the place that we're at right now. You know, I just cannot fathom to the place that we're at right now. Nobody's saying nothing, you know. And so I've dealt with a bunch of different meetings in a bunch of different spaces, and it frustrates me to even go to those meetings because we need to address the root of the problem, a bunch of different roots, instead of just dealing with the leaves off the tree. And I just don't think that we're taking it serious enough. When when officers are going to the scenes of these crimes and seeing 75 rounds that's been used, 100 rounds being used, 150 rounds being used, and we're letting these folks bring this into our community. So let's deal with something else. Okay, so what's happening is that we've dealt with years of neglect, years. I'm talking years, about let's say 10 to 15 years of letting PlayStations. So Grand Theft Auto raise our kids. We've let them raise our kids. So Grand Theft Auto, if you ever watch the game Grand Theft Auto, you get points for picking up the hooker, you get points for killing the cop, you get points for robbing the bank, you get points for, and so these particular kids grew up in that era. Okay, so they've been in a simulation of using a weapon, and now it's available. Now you can get some of this stuff off online, or you utilize a buddy or a friend or a girlfriend or somebody else to go purchase this type of weapon. When it's used, when the legal terminology of using a weapon is only when you feel a bodily threat for yourself or for others, is the only time that a weapon should be used. Only when a weapon should be used. Not because you just mad at your homie because he beat you out of $5. Something like that, okay? And so we've let that happen. We've stepped back on the wayside and silence is acceptance. So either you part of the solution or you part of the problem. By sitting on the wayside, we part of the problem. We don't say nothing in our communities. We just go at the funeral and then until it happens to us. And I know I'm in an oxymoron by even talking about it because most of the people that's in the field I am, that's their job. It's just to do that. But I don't feel like that. I think God has me in a position to be able to learn this information, put this information out here, and man, let's correct this problem. That's what I feel deep in my heart. It hurts me to see a young man that grew up in my barber chair, and we sat back and talked about a future, and now he's laying on a cold embalming table. It burns me up to see somebody that I loved on over at Centennial High School through a go-getter set. You know, that just maybe falling off the path just a little bit, man, but he just needs some mentors in his life to just say, hey, man, I love you, man. Look, bro, you gonna be okay. And then next thing you know, man, he shot dead in front of the prep school, somewhere where they teaching math, science, history. They're teaching 4 or 5 different languages. But he never get a chance to get in there and learn that, but he shot dead in front of the school. It hurts me, and it should hurt the rest of us. So that's the reason why I'm pulling the veil off today. Because it should hurt you, and it should make you want to do something different. It should make you want to get a part of something. And we got to renew our own minds, right? Renewing of the mind is what the Bible talks about. You know, stop pouring old wine into a new wine sack is what the Bible talks about. I'm a biblical guy. I've been going to church all my life. But we got to change even the way we work in that arena. So I talked to one of my mentors the other day. And he said, Sean, man, you're very passionate, man. You do a lot for the community. He said, bro, but this is where the root of the problem at. I said, this is where the root of the problem. He told me a couple things. He said, man, the structure of the family has been broken. So that's where the devil hit us at. Broke our families up. We don't even like each other in our own family. And that's a problem. And that's happening across the country. Unless you immediate, and even the immediate of the immediate don't even like each other. For some minute, because the selfishness of life. I'm gonna get mine, you gotta get yours. I'm gonna get mine, you gotta get yours. And even when you getting yours, I don't like that you getting yours. If I can blow your candle out to make mine shine, your candle's blew out. Instead of making yours shine, I should be pushing you to your destiny. And that's a problem. We should address that as a problem. J.D. Pritzker, our governor, he called it a health crisis. But as African-American families, we should have been calling this a health crisis a long time ago, instead of saying, well, God in charge and God is in charge. I believe that wholeheartedly. But I think God gives us all choices. He gives us all choices. Whether we want to give up on our family or we don't. Whether we want to come to our senses or not. Whether we want to just spend all our time just being inside the church or not. Or do we go take this here great information and start helping people in different arenas so that they can now wake up? Not just about salvation, but about how to be a better person. We got to get to that level. We got to now start grabbing new information. Because as we see, the devil here to kill, steal, and destroy. I read in my article right here, it says Chicago has seen 686 murders in 2021, up from the pace of 1 year ago when it recorded 774 murders, and more than a 50% increase from the 506 murders recorded in 2019. It's murder after murder. I listened to one song said we got, because of the death that you guys did and the pain you put on us, we making murders happen every day. So I know that we like to say, well, don't talk about that, because we do a lot of that in our community. Don't talk about that. Well, when are we gonna talk about it? When are we gonna have the conversation? Because it embarrasses me. I'm keeping it 100, straight across the board, no chaser today. It embarrasses me when I go into these here, like we just did some at the American Legion, which somebody was murdered down there at a repast. But so what we've been doing down there, as me being the commander, is trying to have these community gun violence meetings, use that as a place to have gun violence meetings. So we had a gun violence meeting down there. It was probably about 3 African-American men. It's probably about 7 or 8 African-American women. It was probably 2 Caucasian white men. And it probably was 30 Caucasian white women at the meeting talking about African-American gun violence. When we had just had almost 6 or 7 shootings that happened that same particular week. Now they're there discussing gun violence, but we don't even find it important to even show up to the meeting. That ain't an important meeting. And then that bothers me. Because now we don't find value in our own people. That's a problem, man. We got to start addressing that, and we got to hold people accountable into the fire. Like, man, look, you come to the meeting. Matter of fact, just like voting. Hey, look, man, I'll pick you up and bring you to the meeting. I'll take you to the meeting. We got to start grabbing each other. Hey, man, let's go to the meeting. Because we got to get back what the devil done took from us, and let's get our families back. Get our structure back. Grab that thing back. You know? And so when one of my mentors, he talked to me about the structure of families, right? He talked to me about the importance of fathers being in the household, and how the fact that when the Bible talked about cleaving to your wife, right? The male has to identify himself as, now, what is my role? We got to reestablish what your role is, man. Man, I'm protecting and serving my family. I'm providing for my family, through thick, through thin, no matter what. And I think we've given up too easy. And it's been systematic stuff that have been in place that has made us, that have made it really opportune to be able to give up. I'm not gonna say it hasn't. It has. Folks done threw the rug out in front of us, then tripped us up all along the way. That made it made a real opportune moment to say, we're just go ahead and get up out of here. Instead of dealing with our issues and dealing with them together. Because we way better together than we are separate. But I know a lot of us been hurt. And so we don't like that feeling. And so we don't make ourselves vulnerable anymore from being hurt. I've been in that position. I know people that's been in that position. So we won't put ourselves in that position no more. So, man, get up out of here. And we got a cliche in the black community, say, I can do bad all by myself. So go ahead, pack your bags and get up out of here. But you speaking for yourself. You ain't speaking for them kids. Because for them kids, they need their father in order to be able to see what a male look like. Now, if this dude ain't showing you what a male should look like and he don't understand what I'm talking about, then you can't do bad by yourself. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we have to reevaluate our situation and find out in the community, we call it a holistic feeling, the holistic thing. The holistic, the whole family. Is this going to be good for the whole family? Or is it going to be too traumatic where now, little Timmy and little Sally, now they just fell all the way to bandwagon and now they going to the streets to find love, to find the father figure? Or do they go to the artist? So we have to get back to that, because cleaving, what he explained to me, Sean, he says, Sean, cleaving means that when this young lady finds her a male, finds her a helpmate, finds her, person that she wants to be with, once she find her that, it's a representation of her father. So now that person that she cleaves to should be just like her daddy, love her to death, make everybody happy. And now whether you came into an already made family or whatever the case might be, your job is to make everybody happy, man. And their job is to support you in trying to make everybody happy. Productivity, being a productive citizen, what does that look like? So that you be impactful. Now your dad, now you maximizing your dash. Now you understanding what generational wealth is. It ain't just about money. It's about bringing other young people up that you're responsible for to a whole nother level than when they showed up. Now they don't have to work as hard as you did. They don't have to put the 40, 50 hours of sweat, blood, sweat, and tears in, because you've already laid a foundation. But if their foundation is already messed up, it's not enough mentors out there. It's not enough school programs out there, because the foundation, your structure. A lot of my guys that I talk to that work in the schools, like, man, look, man, we got to detox Timmy every time he come, man, I'm telling you, and it's just all messed up. Well, you pick that road. I always tell my buddies, that's the field you picked in, so you got to deal with it, bro. And what you got to do is you got to go a little bit overboard for them, because that's your area. And then, and speaking about area, one of the other things I talked to my mentor about, we spent a lot of time talking before our stock market class the other day. And one of the things this wise guy told me, he said, when Jesus talked about go out into the world and make disciples, right? He wasn't really talking about just walking out your door and going all into the world. He talked about because God's ways are not like our ways, right? We got to understand that. He don't think like us. So when he said go out to the world, Go out into the systems. The systems meaning your area of expertise. So if you're in the school district, you change the atmosphere, man. It's your job to change that. If you in a barber shop or a beauty shop, it's your job to change that. If you just run a household and a family, it's your job to change that. Everybody can't be the good guy. Somebody got to rock the boat. Somebody got to be able to say, look, you know what? What I just heard, what I just seen, that wasn't right. You know, and so that we can get back as a community, as a family, as a community. Because right now, man, across this nation, man, we hurting. We are hurting as a race of people. I mean, during this pandemic, I'm saying during this pandemic, right? We've been in 2 years of pandemic, 2 years. 2 years of being in a pandemic. And I was talking to my mom about this. Mom, 85, you know what I'm saying? So, and I was talking to one of my buddies that's in the schools right after I finished talking to my mom. And so right directly in back of my mama church, my mama house, it's like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 churches within a block. And so I'm asking her, I'm like, and I'm telling my man, I'm like, man, my mama 85, man. You know, my stepdad, he about 80. And so I'm like, during this pandemic, ain't nobody, and I know that wasn't good grammar, but ain't nobody knocked on this door over my mama house and said, is everybody over here cool? Are y'all good? Do you need somebody to take you down there to get the vaccine? Y'all got bread, y'all got milk, y'all got water? Is the shelter okay? You know, hey, you know, just let me pray with you. Ain't nobody did none of that. And that was to other seniors throughout the community. Ain't nobody did none of that. I was just telling one of the guys, I said, look, man, I said, we got to get our business leaders back because the morale in business leaders are down. So I learned in the military, whatever the temperament is up top, it's way worse at the bottom. Because if you feeling uncertain at top, you feeling not for sure up top, you feeling depressed up top, you feeling, you know, downtrodden, you feeling, you know, weak up top. Down at the bottom, it's a whole lot worse. And that's where our people at. As you see how government is operating and how folks telling you things are like this and you know things aren't like that and you didn't see what you seen in the video and you already know that the other people at the bottom is struggling. So man, we got a lot of work ahead of us. A lot of work ahead of us. But let's go into some of the good things. Let's go into some of the good things that's going on. I talked about the bad. I've showed you the bad. It's up to you to make the change, man. And what you gonna do? My buddy Joe Madison always say, "What you gonna do about it?" So I was doing my program. I was doing my radio program one morning, and kind of got caught off guard, right? So one of the ladies that do the program, she said, "Sean, what are you doing? I want to hear about it today. What are you doing?" So what we've been doing and ways I've been tackling, because I wasn't. You know, I always said this here, but I did go back on it. I said I wasn't going to no marches. I wasn't doing this, and I have went to some marches because if you want somebody to support you, you got to support others. So I stepped back on that. I stuck my foot in my mouth. I'm sorry for that, and then you got to be a man and say you sorry. I'm sorry for that because I got to be the living example. Okay, so I can't say I ain't going to nobody else's program. So I started doing some other things, going to some other people's programs because I want the same support my way. So I have been to some of the programs, but what I did is create my own. Because when you're working off somebody else's kit, you got to do what they say do. So I came up with some of my own programs that I thought that might be helpful. So we started doing the stock market classes, and you guys have heard me talking about the stock market classes. So we offer that free inside of our conference room up here at our office. And so we've been doing that, and we've made extraordinary changes within folks' lives of the way they see things in life. And so we're continuing to provide that program for free. So my money is directed directly and impacting those communities like that. We don't have a non-for-profit, so we're not getting non-for-profit funding. I know somebody just called me about Governor Pritzker being able to come up with a program with $50 million of funds laid out to tackle gun violence and those things. And I think he says, Pritzker said the state has invested over $507 million in gun violence prevention and diversion for young folks. And so it's money out there, but I know we haven't received any. But we've been doing some heck of a stuff off a shoestring budget. We started our transportation company. Once we did the training, big shouts out to Marcus for doing some of the training, some of the other guys that reached out to me about training some of these young folks to get their CDLs, to be able to learn how to maximize your license and your driver's license, something that I never knew about, and to be able to get them on the road traveling, over the road. We've been able to do some of those things, but I mean, by far, we probably need to apply for some of those. So if you know some folks that can write some grants that can be able to help us out, plug them with me. Hit me in my inbox, get in touch with me, because we need that. We need that because I always believe the solution is within. We have the solutions within us. I don't think that we always have to go outside. We have the solutions inside of us. God has instilled everything that we need within inside of us. We just got to be willing to touch it. We got to be willing to go in there and get it. We have it. We got to be having the willingness. Do I have the willpower to look over there at Jason and see him as a human being and be able to assist him? Not look at him as being white, not look at somebody as being Asian, not look at somebody else, but look at him as being another human being and say, hey, look, man, I got you. And that's the way our world get better, when we start looking at it from a different lens. But being able to see when something impacts another African-American family, to look over there and say, hey, look, give me a call, I got you. And we need to be empowered and be economically empowered so we can make that happen. And it just ain't a bunch of loose words. Because if we working off a shoestring budget, we can only help only a few people. And so I thank God for the partnerships that we didn't have, because we've been able to help a few young men get their driver's license, maximize their driver's license, get them over the road and show them something different, because exposure is everything. To be get up out of Champaign. Let's get you up out of Champaign. Let's get you to travel across the country, to be able to get to New York, be able to get to Pennsylvania, get to Atlanta, get to some of these places and be able to spend a couple of days down there and see how other people operate. One of those things that helps out tremendously when you're able to get up out of here and see how other folks are operating. Now you ain't working off an old mindset and the norm, because we so normal. And even in Champaign, and one of the things I think we struggle here in Champaign is this, because the bar of being average is so low. The bar of being average is so low. I remember one time, and I'm giving you this here, I'm giving you a plus, I'm getting you a plus. I remember one day I went down to the American Legion, this was some years ago, and I mean, I got Ray Neeston did my hair's tight, I got my suit on, I got my tie on, I got my slacks on, I'm clean as a whistle. And a guy came up to me at the bar, because we got dream busters all around this community, you know what I'm saying? And so you got to really put your hater guard on. And so the guy said, man, why you always come down here clean? Man, it ain't nothing but the Legion. But that was his mentality. That was a less than average mentality. Because it wasn't the fact that I'm coming down there to impress other people. It's because of the way I feel about myself. And that tells me a lot about the character of yourself. The way you feel about yourself. Because if I don't feel good about myself, it's nowhere in the world I feel as though that I can help you. Because I don't feel good about me. So the only thing I could tell you is the things that I tell me. Oh man, you can't do that. Oh, that'll never happen. Man, no, man, why you, no. And everything is null and you can't and all the the shackles. Used to be a song called Shackles on My Feet. It won't make me dance. You know, and we put these shackles and these limitations on us. I remember one of the guys I listened to, look at a lot of YouTube. Turn that TV off, look to a lot of YouTube. One of the guys I listened to was Dr. Miles Monroe. Google him, listen to him. I mean, he's off the chain. He died some years ago, but his sermons are still relevant. And I remember him having this sermon, and he talked about his experience in Germany. He was from Jamaica or the Bahamas. I think he's from Bahamas. And he talked about him and his wife going over to Germany. And I could relate to him with his experience in Germany. I could relate. And in relating to his experience in Germany, I was over there in the military. And so I remember the Autobahn. And he talked about being on the Autobahn. And he talked about him and his wife, the driver came and picked him up in a Mercedes-Benz. And that's their leading car company over in Germany because they produce German vehicles and they produce Mercedes-Benzes over there. And he talked about the driver driving, and he was driving, and he said, Dr. Miles, he said, you wanna drive? And he was like, yeah, I wanna drive. And so he said he got out the car and he let Dr. Miles Monroe get behind the wheel, and he said he got on the Autobahn. And if anybody's ever been to Germany, you know the Autobahn. I mean, there's no speed limit over there in Germany. So he got on the Autobahn and he started driving. And he said the driver said, Dr. Miles Monroe, you need to drive faster. And so he said we got up to about 50, 60 miles an hour. And he said, no, man, you got to go faster. You got to get us ran over on the Autobahn. And he said, man, do you want me to go faster? And he said he got it up to about 70, 75 miles an hour. He's like, Dr. Miles Monroe, you have to go faster. And he said he got it up to about 80, 90 miles an hour. And he said, man, go faster. And he said he got it up to about 100, 110 miles an hour. And he said, man, you can go faster, doctor. He said he started going 140. And he said he was just flying and flying. He said, that's the way we're built. He said, God built us to go faster, but man limits us. The people around your circle will limit you. A lot of my guys say, you tell me your friends and I'll tell you where you going. You tell me who you hang out with every day and I'll tell you where you're gonna be at in the next 5 years. We have to start changing the people, places, and things, the people we're around, the information that we're receiving. I always tell my folks, man, you know, that environment that you in, they ain't getting out no information. Yeah, I know they cool. You know, I know they great people, and I know that's their social, recreational and social atmosphere that they love getting to. But they're not giving you no value. They're not providing you any value. They're not getting you the information that you need. We're in a tech-savvy world, and we're so far behind the 8 ball. And I say this here across any racial guidelines or any racial lines. China got us so beat because what we're doing in America, the devil got us arguing about who should get the vaccine or who shouldn't get the vaccine, or about gun violence and about all these other things that should be unconscionable to us, where that's not even happening. Where China's telling their folks, you're only going to spend 3 hours a day on social media, and then the app shuts you down. Your grandchildren, you don't have to worry about them being on Grand Theft Auto because the app shuts them down after 3 hours because they know that is poisonous to the future of their country. They understand that. You know, it's no way in the world they would sit back and let these rappers and these entertainers and these games and all these folks make these trillions of dollars off African American people or Asian folk and not say something. This stuff's starting to impact TikTok and Snapchat and Facebook are starting to impact other races of people. You see what they're doing? They bringing them from the congressional hearing and saying, you're gonna clean this up. But where's our African American leaders at to stand in front of a congressional hearing and say, look, we're going to force them to get out here and say, you know what, Sony, Virgin Records, because these are people behind the scene, you're not finna keep on putting this poison down our people's throat. Them earbuds that you finna go buy for Christmas, no, they won't be playing that. Now, we got other artists that's saying something more positive, and I want you to give them the contract. I want you to give them the millions so that we can promote that type of message. But as long as we keep doing the same thing, we're gonna even get worse results. We're gonna get worse results. So what I want us to do, start finding out stuff in our community, because we have a great community. I mean, Champaign-Urbana, we have a great community. I have just, somebody just called me here this past week, and they want to sit down and have a meeting of how, some of the other institutions within our community can play a part in the success of our community. But we got to have the willpower and the consciousness and stop trying to trick people. Stop trying to do it for your advantage, so that you can beat people out, because a lot of times when we come in and we really, our conscience and our motives are pure. When we're coming and we're saying, hey, look, man, come on with us, we help you out. But because of the fact that we've been scammed so bad so many times that everything that comes up is a scam. So now we thinking, we got our radars up and we looking for the scam and who's the scammer and scammer and scammer. So now we do it like the devil. We try to paint a picture of who to look out for. For the scammer that's gonna scam me because I'm not trying to be humiliated to get scammed or get beat out my money. So then when you see somebody that look like you, that been through what you've been through, that grew up to where you grew up at, went to the same high school you went to, and those type of things, oh man, he ain't professional enough. Oh man, he's a scammer. Man, he ain't. And then you doing what happened to Jesus when he went to the synagogue. Man, who is him with this new information? Where he get it from? Well, no, he just did something different. He just did something different. He paused. He wasn't watching, all of these other shows. I didn't watch the World Series last night. I care about that like a horse care about it. Nothing. Because we're still dealing with gun violence, and there's no time to celebrate when we're dealing with this epidemic and a health crisis of gun violence. Let's figure out how to solve this. Plus, when you handling your business, you ain't got time to be in everybody else's business. That's them people business. Now, if y'all win, y'all win. If y'all lose, y'all lose. And I don't even know who on the team. I care nothing about that. And we should care nothing about that. Because we are the biggest consumers, and they know that we are the biggest consumers. And as long as we keep on letting them bump us up against the side of our head, we're going to keep getting the same results. But once we learn to conglab like other racial groups can glab, I remember some Latinos stayed in back of my place that I own. And I remember it was like 12 of them staying in one house. 12 of them. And they only paid rent. Each one of them paid rent once a month for 1 month out the year. 1 month. Everything else they got to stack. Man, when that Latino guy told me that, I'm like, wow. They stacked, they work, man, probably 70, 80 hours a week. And they got to stack everything else. And now, when I go back to the community over there, they own the whole block. How many of us give each other opportunity like that, man? Will we support each other like that, to that level, to that degree? Will we say, man, you know what, come stay with me. Stay with me for a whole year. You pay the first month's rent. You don't worry about no more rent, because we got some other people. They staying on air mattresses. Here we is got to have a Gucci queen size bed. We got to have all the, latest stuff. When they were sitting back and they working for the future. They're not working for the right now. They working for the future, so the future be better. So, man, I sure appreciate y'all, man. Funny how time fly when you're having fun. I haven't did this here monologue by myself in a long time. But Funny how time flies when you're having fun, man. I hope I brought some value to you guys. I hope I put something on your mind to make you think about a little something a little bit different. I ain't trying to step on nobody's toes, ain't trying to hurt nobody, but somebody got to be the bad guy. Somebody got to be able to say, hey, man, we got to do something different, and we got to talk to these people that's in charge, man, because one thing about it, man, you can have 600 people in your group, you can have 1,500 people in your group, but if your group ain't doing nothing, you in the way. And so I thank the Lord for you. Jason, I sure appreciate you, man. I thank the Lord for you, man. You've been a real blessing to me, man. And good luck on everything that you got going on for your future, man. I appreciate it. Good luck to you guys, you that's out there in the social media land, that's out there in the television land, man. Man, if you need anything from me, you need any help, you want to be a part of some of these folks like the Victory Over Violence, successes that we've had throughout the community, partner with us, man. Partner with us. Join us. Let's help. Let's work together. Let's work together on this gun violence, man, so we can solve the issue. Because we got a lot of folks working behind the scenes, and that's brainstorming, and just don't have everybody on team, or maybe don't have the resources, or maybe need some other folks to support. So get with us, man, so we can help solve this issue within Champaign-Urbana. We might can't make impactful throughout the rest of the country, but we sure can do some things right here in Champaign-Urbana to make things better and make our lives a little bit more peaceful. So I thank the Lord for you. Continue to pray for us. We continue to pray for you. And as we always say before we get off this program, thanks for watching another episode of Let the Truth Be Told.